Welcome into Fantasy Unclean. I am your host, Rich Fiddler, joined today by Scott Robley and virtual Frodo Carvel.
Virtually Frodo Carvel, but not really Frodo Carvel.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, he's here in spirit and in voice.
But not in gas.
Yeah. Not in gas. Which is
very
good
important.
Because he had a very large burrito this morning.
Yes, that thing was monstrous. I could not believe
and
what
then,
I witnessed.
20 minutes later, had a hot dog.
I told you to see some... Yeah,
I know.
I told you you're going to see something special.
Yeah. Dude, I think we found a good new... maybe every couple of weeks even, but at the very least, a very good first week tradition.
Maybe a quarterly.
Yeah, a quarterly tradition of hitting the casino, go to the sports book, hang out there. With all the games going, big screen in front of you, play some bets if you want to. You know, it was a good time.
Yeah, we had a really good time. Other than one really annoying group of a couple of individuals,
and they do actually seem like they might be regulars.
Yes,
I got that vibe.
At least one of them. Yes.
I've never seen them before.
Okay,
that's good.
That's good. No, it was week one though. Yeah. Right here. It's there. It's here. It's happened.
And it was a roller coaster.
Dude, those morning games were insane. They like
all of them.
Every
one of the morning games, like most of them started slow.
The one boring one, and I say boring with quotation marks, but boring maybe the Miami Dolphins and Patriots, because
it went exactly how you thought it was going to.
Yeah, there wasn't any surprises there. The Dolphins handled business. Their defense looked great.
Their offense was a little hit and miss, but much more hit than it was miss.
Yeah, and it's week one.
This aspect. So, and when you look at a lot of the other teams,
turn the ball over.
Yeah, when you look at a lot of the other teams in a whole, their offense compared to a lot of the other offenses looked great.
Yeah, absolutely.
I saw Mike McDaniel's speech after the game. I'll send you on TikTok or Twitter, but he got the game ball, and he even mentioned things weren't going the way we necessarily wanted them to go. So I don't think they were clicking 100% on offense. They had some, miscues and stuff like that, but that just shows, at least from a coach's point of view, that's why I have hope, because one, he's a good coach, but also hey, this shit wasn't exactly what we wanted. At least we won.
Yeah. So we are recording Sunday night this week. We currently have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Dallas Cowboys going against each other. It's I think third quarter right now, and it's 12-3. So this isn't a great game. We just got the notification that Chris Godwin's going to be out for the rest of the game, which I kind of anticipated that happening because he was so questionable going into the game.
Right.
And I either thought he was going to be on a snap count or re-aggravate something, which apparently he did.
Yeah, well, I mean, what was his injury coming out of the season?
ACL, and he tore his ACL and I think PCL.
That's what I was thinking.
He was back from that, and then he injured his hamstring.
Oh, is that what happened?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in the off season,
preseason he injured the hamstring during practice and whatnot.
Yeah. Okay, so basically aggravated that again.
Yep.
The hamstring has got him knocked out for the rest of the game.
Yep. Some other injuries that we know of so far, don't know the extent of. Mac Jones, apparently he had x-rays and everything's come back okay, as far as nothing's positive.
But he never exited the game. That was weird.
Correct.
Right. So he toughed it out, whatever it is.
Elijah Mitchell went down with a knee injury. We obviously don't know the extent. It's still Sunday night, so
we're gonna have all sorts of recap information for you guys tomorrow in terms of these injuries.
Yep.
But just kind of being aware now of what's coming down the road. Jeff Wilson is the guy that's going to take over if there's a long-term injury there, but I don't think from what I read, it's not going to be, they're not worried about it yet.
Yeah, it didn't sound like it was going to be.
Yeah.
I think it was more of a precautionary thing.
Yeah.
Don't know the extent of Damian Williams. He went down, which could open the door for
Tyler Algieri or
Yeah.
Algier, whatever you call him.
Correct.
Right, who was a healthy scratch today.
Correct.
What we so
But they won't just be able to run Cordell Patterson like they did today.
right, and
No, but
by
he
the way,
looked good.
He looked
did look
great.
good.
He did good. I've been shying away from him this offseason because I didn't believe that he could reproduce the exact same way that he did last year, considering he hasn't shown us in his career that he can do that, except for one season. So to see him at least come out in this game and do that is great. And hopefully, I've got a few shares of Tyler, so I'm hoping that he comes in and he
Didn't see a whole lot of Kyle Pitts in that
What?
game, though.
didn't see Kyle Pitts at all. And so I'm a little bit actually worried about that. And that's a little bit more into my panic section there. But Kyle Pitts had 7 targets, 2 receptions for like no yards. I mean, he had a very minimal game today. More injuries. We had, I guess the big one, the big hit was to the Steelers. TJ Watt
In
is
a couple of different places.
in a couple of different places. This doesn't matter so much for us for fantasy, but TJ Watt went down. He was calling it a torn pec. And it certainly looks like that might be the case. At the very least, it's an injured pectoral.
Yeah.
The scarier one for us was Najee Harris. The team,
because he was laying on the ground for a bit.
and he was in a lot of pain.
The good news is he did walk off the field,
And
he was on the sideline standing there the rest of the game.
Yeah, and what it looked like is he got rolled up. He got tackled in an awkward way, and his leg got caught underneath him again as he's falling backwards. And so it looked like his knee, his ankle, his everything was just shredding apart. They've called it a foot injury, though. So it's not not the knee, which is, of course, that's the big one that you're worried about.
Yeah. Well, and he was kind of nursing a knee or a Liz Frank.
Yes.
So, which is already a foot issue.
Right. So they're already worried about that.
So he could have just aggravated that more.
It was a nasty tackle.
It didn't look fun.
No. So we'll have to
It looks like
wait.
it stung a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. T. Higgins got crushed across the middle.
He got obliterated.
Yeah, and so he got knocked out with a concussion. So again, non-linear.
It looked like
we'll
he
see.
got actually knocked out for a few seconds on the field.
Yeah, just I mean, as they used to say, he got his bell rung, right?
Yeah.
So we're gonna pay attention to that because Tyler Boyd came in and had himself a pretty good game afterwards. Tyler Boyd should be picked up in most leagues already, but if he's available, this is gonna be a good waiver.
Yeah, absolutely.
For him, waiver target. Keenan Allen.
Yep.
Went down kind of early in the game.
Yep.
Had a hamstring injury.
Yep.
He's 30. That's going to happen.
And it's not the first time he's had a hamstring injury.
Yeah, it's just the first time this season.
Yeah.
And it won't be the last time this season.
Oh.
Who does that help, though? That helps, obviously, Mike Williams. It helps a little bit. But, Frodo, who else does it
Josh
help?
Palmer.
Josh Palmer.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Gerald Everett.
Uh-huh.
And Josh Palmer, I think, is going to be he's probably out available on probably like 75% of waivers. Pick him up instantly. He should. He was already a possible ad. Wide receiver 3 in that offense is a pretty good thing to have.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Right. But is that going to be Gerald Everett, who had himself a pretty good game today, or is it going to fall to a third person Palmer? And so.
Well, the fact that next week they're playing the Chiefs, I'm going to go with that. Get as many pieces of that offensive puzzle as you can.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, right. It's going to be a bit of a shootout there. Any other injuries that we know of?
Kittle was out today.
Yeah, right.
And
Last minute,
he could
kind of on the fence all week.
He didn't practice at all this week. He may not practice at all this next week. They play Seattle, so it's a divisional game.
Yeah.
It's a groin injury, and it
always
sounds like
plays
it's
well against Seattle.
It sounds like it's a pretty decent groin injury. So
decent groin.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
My groin. So who knows how long that's going to keep him out?
Yeah. And it's sort of the thing that you have to deal with Kittle. He plays hard and he gets injured. And this happened.
It's one of those things, though. If Kittle's active, you're playing him because that's some of his best games when he comes back from an injury.
Right.
When he'll put up like 200 yards and like 3 touchdowns.
Right.
Which would have been fantastic today.
It would have been very helpful for you.
I'm glad he did not play today, though.
Yeah. That field, and it probably had more to do with the field.
That field was injured today.
That field was injured today. Oh, my God. It was a pool out there, guys. If you guys haven't seen clips of the game, you got to go back. You got to watch the highlights because the
so bad.
Soldier Field was underwater. It was a full-on Atlantis situation. And
I will admit, Trey Lance did not have a great day.
Yeah.
It was not entirely his fault, though.
Let's talk about this. Okay, so we got a couple of teams to talk about in terms of, are we in full panic mode? Since you say it, the Bears are not supposed to be a good team.
No.
And 49ers are supposed to be a good team, and they're specifically supposed to have a really good defense, and yet the Bears just won.
The Bears did, but that was more on the aspect, like if you actually look at the stat sheet,
yeah,
the Bears didn't win the game in that aspect.
Okay.
Yeah, the Niners had a lot more yards and
they had a
red zone
few.
appearances.
They had a few good plays.
Yeah.
They weren't super efficient running the ball. They weren't super efficient passing the ball.
Right.
They got lucky in a lot of their plays with some questionable, but a lot of just bad defensive penalties that destroyed us. We had 12 penalties. Two of those
were brutal.
2 of those were on third down, like a stop third down.
Yeah.
That would have been our ball at that point.
But yeah.
So the penalties killed it. But that game would have been terrible to play in. So you can't go out and say that, Trey Lance is a bust off of that game.
Right. Twitter's going to have a field day.
You put anybody in that. You put Tom Brady in that, he's going to struggle.
Oh, yeah. Tom Brady's not going to do shit in that
weather. I mean, there's no good way about it. It was a complete torrential downpour. There was standing water. They had to have overlays at the end of the game of all the field lines because you couldn't see the lines on the field in the camera.
Right. So now all of a sudden you're trying to figure out where they're at on the field and you can't because everything's covered in water.
So they had gray overlays where all the lines were.
Yeah.
That's how wet that field was.
So you can't really evaluate any fantasy options because it was just such a marginalized game. Like it should have an asterisk.
Everybody was trying to punch the ball out.
I wouldn't panic.
Yep.
Yeah. Passes were floating. They just get away. They're hydroplaning out of people's hands.
Yeah.
And shit. So, I would not panic on the Niners. That you got to trust the coaching, and they have the same, skill players there with, and I think even better with Lance. So, I don't think you panic there. I think the Bears are better than they were last year. They got out of Matt Nagy's shadow, and it just like
I do feel like people were sleeping a little bit on the Bears. Good. Like, I'm not saying that they're going to be a highly competitive team this year and that they're going to make a playoff run, but the Bears are better than what I think people are talking about right now. Their negative hype, I guess, is what you'd call it.
Well, I mean, we've talked about it a lot. We think the biggest issue is they just don't have a lot of passing options.
Right.
They have Mooney, they have Kmet, and there's not really a whole lot, at least right now, that anybody is excited for.
Right.
So somebody may pop up and they may end up being that number 2 role. Today you can't tell because it was such a sloppy game all the way around that you can't pick anybody out of the game saying, they had a fantastic game. Montgomery he had a couple of breakaway runs for like 15 yards, but most of those were stopped at the line.
I was surprised that we didn't see more rushing out of both teams. Mm-hmm. They seem to keep wanting to air it out to try and drive the ball.
I think maybe because footing was such an issue.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Elijah Mitchell, when he went down, it kind of seemed like the team got a little deflated.
Well, and Elijah Mitchell was, I think, 6 for 48 or something.
Yeah,
like
he
that.
was actually running pretty good.
He was having a good game.
Yeah. So when he went down, it kind of seemed like the game plan for the game kind of fell apart because Jeff Wilson wasn't able to do the same thing. So
but speaking of sloppy game, let's go back to Thursday night.
Yep.
Rams Rams.
Bills.
Yeah, Rams, Bills. Rams looked terrible. They looked awful.
There was nothing that happened from the Rams that you can say looked good outside of Cooper Kupp
Cooper Kupp
playing well.
Yep, Cooper Kupp looked awesome.
I think
a ton of looks. I think he had like 15 targets and 13 catches for 130 yards and a touchdown, and they were all good yards. They were all like good catches. I mean, toe tapping touchdowns. Yeah, it was awesome. Cooper Kupp, if you got him,
I'm not going to panic on the Rams. Yeah, I'm not going to panic on the Rams. The reason why is like they really didn't play together during preseason.
Right.
Stafford was rehabbing. There's other players rehabbing, learning. You know, if this was week 3 or 4 in this game and they played like that, then you're like, okay, there's a major issue. But I bet you they come back next week with a vengeance and they're back to their normal self. Their defense was still good, but they can only keep up for so long.
Right.
So
Well,
except Jalen Ramsey. Ramsey got burnt.
Ramsey put up 158.3 QBR for Josh Allen when he was targeted. So you're welcome, Josh Allen.
Yeah. Josh Allen, by the way, was awesome. Stephon Diggs, awesome. The Bills.
Devin Singletary looked awesome.
Singletary
even though they went away from him.
Yeah.
Which I don't get, but I mean, they started getting Moss involved. But that's why, like, outside of like Josh Allen and Diggs and Gabe Davis looked the part again. I think those are the pieces you really want.
Yeah.
You know,
Dawson Knox
outside
did
of like
not look great. He had a couple of looks and didn't do much with them. I think he had 2 catches for 20-something yards, 30-something yards on 5 or 6 or 7 targets. So he didn't look great, but Josh Allen's the man, dude. That dude is...
The thing with Dawson Knox, at least at this point, he's going to be one of those guys that will have really good weeks and really poor weeks.
Yes.
He'll have a game where he'll have 2 touchdowns in it.
Yeah.
And then he'll have another game where he has 2 targets.
Right.
Because it'll all depend on who's getting the ball at that time and who's hot. That offense is going to be good. We're all pretty sure that offense is going to be good most of the year.
Right, and they certainly look like a Super Bowl contender at the beginning of this season.
Yes.
Yeah, they looked awesome. But other panic teams, what do we see here?
I mean, we'll get it out of the way just because the Patriots, I think.
Yeah.
Tied in with everything coming out of their own beat writers is that they made a huge change. They lost Josh McDaniels. They lost a lot of the assistants that would have taken their place. They didn't add any offensive weapons, and now they have 2 guys doing play calling who are defensive coaches. We were wondering how the offense would look because they didn't look good against second and third stringers in preseason, and they did not look good today.
Yeah,
I think
sort of
there's a big issue there.
The preseason talk was, well, okay, it's preseason. They didn't have all their starters, and so on and so forth.
Right.
But neither did the other team. And
if it wasn't for a bad penalty on a illegal contact when they're falling out of the air after a pass was deflected, they probably would have scored 0 points today.
Yeah,
and their defense took a few hits. I don't know how extensive those injuries were, but a few of their defensive players went down today as well. And
you just lost J.C. Jackson. I mean, he went free. Your best cornerback, one of the top 3 cornerbacks in the NFL, is now. Well, he's hurt, but I mean, he's no longer on your team. So I mean, if the Dolphins, I think the Dolphins did not click 100% on offense. There's missing parts, but they did a good job. I think they kept too high to keep the top, the deep pass going, but they got exposed all underneath. Like it wasn't a great showing. If their offense had played better, it would have been a much tighter game. But their offense is not.
They didn't.
But there's something wrong there, and you can't put a finger on it.
They didn't shut down the number 1 target like they normally do.
Yeah. Normally, Belichick in his defenses come in and they take out the top guy.
And it's not like they haven't been able to play against Tyreek Hill before.
Right, they've done it.
They know it.
They've done it.
Yeah.
He did have a just one of those superstar days, but 8 for 94 yards. They allowed a big play to Jalen Waddle, 4 for 69 and a touchdown. Mm-hmm. And I mean, Tua was
Tyreek's biggest asset is that's going to be his floor for the most part.
Pretty much.
The one thing they did good, their defense did good. Like the Dolphins couldn't really run the ball.
Yeah,
Like that wasn't very good.
Yeah.
But
and that's kind of been the Dolphins as of the last couple of years. But I Edmonds did not look great. He every time he just start to get some traction going, he'd just get clobbered the next 2 or 3 times. So
yeah, I mean 12 rushes for 25 yards, a 2.1 average. Those are not right home numbers about, but I think that's something that'll get progressively better. The big thing was there was no mistakes made. Right off the Patriots made turnovers on offense, so.
Yeah. And that's a huge part of the mistakes is a huge part because that was a big part of the morning slate games today was
a lot of mistakes.
Another team that you kind of got to question is the Titans.
Yeah. What happened there?
They had a rough game.
It was.
They lost to the Giants.
Right.
They were up 20. Was it 20 to? It was like 20 something to like 7, and going into the third quarter because they had shut out the Giants.
But the good news is Saquon Barkley's back. That boy can run, man.
18 for 164. God dang.
Yes.
And a touchdown.
Yeah,
they shut him out in the first half, and then in the third quarter, Giants came back and tied it up. So it was 13-13. But by the end of the third quarter, it was 13-20. Titans were up again, and the Giants were just able to do it. But
they were just able to bring it back. Yeah,
I'll give it to you. At least in this game,
Saquon looked like
Saquon's actually back.
Yeah,
I mean, he had a fantastic stat
line. He had a good number of carries. He had a good number of. He obviously found the end zone. He got a 2-point conversion. His scoring on the week is in the 30s. I think 32 something. In a half point. Maybe that was PPR. I was super pleased to see him come back and do that. I did not expect that necessarily against the Titans.
But now it's another one of those questions. Is it that the Giants are that much better now?
Yeah.
All of the sudden?
Right.
Or is it that the Titans are that much worse?
Certainly the new coach, Doble, has brought in a new energy.
Yep.
And if you're going in, if any middle school football coach or better goes into that offense and looks around and sees what he has and tries to figure out how he can make this work, they're going to funnel everything they can through Saquon.
Yeah.
And
take the ball out of Danny Dimes' hand.
Yeah.
As much as possible.
Sterling Shepard looked good.
Did he?
He had, he had 2 for 71 and a touchdown. Saquon Barkley had 6 receptions for 30 yards.
Yeah, his
Kenny Galladay
kept getting targeted. That was nice. That was nice to see with Saquon getting targeted again. Kadarius Toney wasn't around.
Was non-existent.
Yep. Packers also.
This will be a fun one for Scott.
What?
Talking to the Packers.
Dude, the Packers, man. This was.
Yeah,
when did Jordan Love get in?
We all thought that the Vikings were going to win this game.
Yes.
Yeah.
But we didn't think that the Vikings were going to win the game the way they did.
Right. And it just started off with pass number 1. Christian Watson, their shiny new wide receiver, their first round pick wide receiver for Aaron Rodgers, just gets an absolute dime hit on him.
Beat the defender. The defender tripped up. He had 3-4 yards on him.
Full stride.
He would have been gone because there was nobody past him.
Yep. The ball was out in front of him, but not fingertips out in front of him. It was
right in his hands.
Right in his hands, a little bit outstretched. Like it was a perfect.
It was the perfect pass to keep every bit of your speed going. You didn't have to slow down. You didn't have to turn. It was the perfect in the basket pass when you are on the run.
It was so good
and
that he didn't expect it to be there.
Yes.
And so it just went right through his hands. And from that moment on, it was a problem for Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers could not pick this team up and carry it down the field.
Who do you think was the leading receiver on the Packers?
Probably Randall Cobb, I would assume.
I would say Aaron Jones.
A.J. Dillon. A.J. Dillon absolutely he 5 receptions for 46 yards, and he outrushed. He had more attempts, 10 rush attempts to Aaron Jones' 5.
I'm not at all surprised by the more rushing. I am a little bit more surprised of the more passing yards than
Yeah, 5
now,
for 46 is a pretty good line.
What was Aaron Jones passing or receiving?
3 for 27.
Oh, so he even got more he had more receptions too.
Yeah, Aaron Jones had 5 carries for 49 yards and 3 receptions, 27 yards. Those, but it all starts with if nobody's down there to catch the ball, if nobody can catch the ball, then you can't run the ball. You can't. I mean, the whole offense is blown up there.
So, I will say that yes, the Packers did get beat in this game.
Yes. But we had high expectations for the Vikings this year.
So,
yeah.
I mean, I don't
Hey,
remember.
Justin Jefferson was pretty good.
Was Green Bay actually favored in this game?
Yeah, they were favored by, yeah.
No,
1.5 points.
One and a half points.
So it was basically...
It was a toss-up.
Yeah. But if we go back to last year...
Yeah.
Green Bay got absolutely destroyed.
Yeah, week 1, 38-3 or 38-7 or something like that.
This game was not as bad as that game.
Correct.
They still came back last year and ended up winning the NFC #1 seed.
Right.
So
Correct.
I can't say that they're done.
So
I
we're
will
not
say
panicking.
that I'm not panicking yet, but I will say that there was a chemistry issue on this team.
Yes.
This team now, maybe if Lazard comes back,
That's the thing, is they're missing Lazard and they're missing their 2 tackles.
Yep.
And so, you fix those, you bring your 2 tackles back to full speed, you bring your number 1 wide receiver, the expected number 1 wide receiver back in, and now all of a sudden your run game opens up, and now everybody else opens up. But the problem is the entire game.
and there is somebody on the field that outside of Randall Cobb, that Aaron Rodgers has that chemistry with and knows will come down with the ball 90% of the time.
Right.
So, again, I'm not panicked, but it is something to keep an eye on in the sense that there are some injury concerns with the players listed and the fact that we clearly have a lot of communication errors between the young receivers and Aaron Rodgers.
Right. And that's the biggest deal. And that was what everybody was sort of expecting. And that's what's so scary about this offense this year. So panicking about the Rams. Apparently we're not panicking about the Rams.
Not yet.
Panicking about the 49ers. Probably not about the 49ers. Patriots, full panic.
Now,
full panic.
I will say that
even the Patriots fan was like, this year's not going to be good.
Yeah. I will say that
I feel you, brother.
If the 49ers played this way in a completely dry environment, that would be very, very,
that
very
would be
different.
a little bit, concerning.
This game, I don't think you can just say, "Hey, this was just a shit play in all aspects."
And I think they go to Seattle next week. Go to Seattle, or they host.
It's at home.
So they're hosting Seattle this next week.
Yep.
Okay.
The defense played well outside of the penalties. So, I mean, the defense was doing what they were supposed to do.
Yep.
You could tell Bosa was getting very annoyed by the end of that game, though.
Sure.
With the penalties and everything else.
Yeah.
Which sucks for him. Because I don't think there's anybody out there that doesn't like Bosa outside of quarterbacks.
Right. Besides everybody that lines up across
the offensive tackles.
Right.
So not panicking for the Rams yet, not panicking for the 49ers. There's some panic on board for the Patriots.
I'll be honest, there's a little bit of panic for me on the Packers. Just because
and I get it.
All of the things that you saw were all of the things that we were expecting to see as an issue. And what we wanted was Aaron Rodgers to prove us wrong and say, no, I'm so fucking good, I can elevate all of these young kids.
But at the same time, he can only do so much.
I agree.
Because he put the ball exactly where he needed to.
Right.
And they just didn't want it.
Right.
Kind of like Mecole Hardman when he was just like, nah.
Nah, I don't need that ball.
Nah.
Titans, though? Are you panicked about the Titans? They lost to the Giants. That feels like a panic-worthy loss.
I'm a little concerned. And they're not going to have a good next game.
I didn't believe them last year. Yeah.
Say that again.
I mean, I didn't believe really in them much last year.
Oh, okay.
And
you mean the number one seed for the AFC last year?
One and done. I did not. I called it, and I did not believe it. I think they lost a lot on offense, and they lost a lot on defense this year.
Yeah.
And
speaking of that AJ Brown guy's pretty good.
Bad.
AJ Brown guy's pretty good.
Their lead. Who the fuck is Kyle Phillips? I've never heard of this good dude, and he was their leading receiver. Dontrell Hilliard.
He's a rookie.
Yeah.
He came in and he had like 9 targets, 6 catches, and was nuts. He was supposed to be like the 3rd or 4th guy on. He's on my taxi squad.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't at all bringing him along. But
I wouldn't yet.
I wouldn't yet. Exactly.
I wouldn't yet.
I'm not there yet.
It's just
the last.
There's no. They have to. The Titans have to play the Derrick Henry type of football. Like they have to literally smash him in the mouth and try to be up so they can keep doing
Derrick
that.
Henry get laid out?
Yeah, Derrick Henry got Derrick Henry.
I saw him. Yeah.
Yeah. He hit him just perfect leverage on him. I don't remember the defensive end for the Giants came in and read the play perfectly and caught Henry off balance and just leveled him. Just full Josh Norman. It was kind of interesting to see. I'm not panicked about Derrick Henry yet.
No.
I'm not panicked about the Texans or the Titans as a whole. Because there's not a lot of guys. Yeah, because you don't really. There's not a lot of these guys that you're gonna keep on your team. Like Austin Hooper is a guy that I had on my peripheral. But
only had 1 catch.
Yeah, he didn't enter the equation at all tonight.
I would be very cautious going into week 2, though.
Who are they playing week 2?
The Bills.
Yeah.
Bills. Okay, so this is the point of the hard thing about Thursday Night Football, the Bills and the Rams, is you couldn't tell if the Rams were bad or if the Bills' defense was that good.
Right.
And we're about to find out, I think. Well, we think, because what if the Texans are bad? What if the Titans?
Fuck, the
Titans.
We'll get into the Texans momentarily.
Texans, right. I don't know, man. I can't panic on Derrick Henry yet because he's earned the benefit of the doubt. So that's where I'm at. Coming off an injury last season,
he didn't look slowed up when he had the ball.
Nope.
He just the team in general just wasn't very efficient.
Wasn't clicking along. Tannehill's efficiency was down. Quite a bit compared to what he's been at the past, and that might be part of AJ Brown being gone, and but Robert Woods a pretty good receiver. He's not AJ Brown.
And I didn't see him much at all today.
Yeah, right.
The next one that we're gonna get into, as in are they good or are they bad, is the Texans.
Yeah.
And the Colts. Everybody expected the Colts with Jonathan Taylor back on the field
to just walk through this
with Matt Ryan as their new
Matty Ice.
Yeah.
No, that's the other one.
No,
it's Matt Ryan. Yeah.
Matty Ice. Neither team wanted to win.
Joe Flacco and Matty Ice in my head. I get them mixed up, like who they are. If I'm picturing one of them, I get them mixed up all the time. Anyway.
Indy got stopped on the line at least twice that I saw today.
Yes.
On the goal line.
Yeah.
They got stopped early when it was 0-3, and they tried to go up, and then they got stopped again when it was 10-0.
Yeah.
At one point, it was 17-0.
It might have been. Jonathan Taylor, like with most running backs, needed to get some time. Needed to get into a rhythm. Needed to get multiple reps. This is one of the things that I complain about with Ezekiel Elliott all the time, is that they give him 12 carries and he doesn't do well. But if he gets 19 carries, he gets 130 yards.
Right.
So, and that's sort of what happened with Saquon Barkley today, is he was doing okay, getting small chunks of yardage, and then he busted
broke off
out.
like a 62-yard run.
Yeah, and so Jonathan Taylor was a beast towards the end of the game, but he had fucking 31 carries and 7 targets. Like you can't. That's a dream to get that much volume out of a single player.
Right.
But the Texans, to their credit, they look good.
I think Davis Mills, I mean, we talked about it last year.
Yep.
I think Davis Mills is maybe not a top end, but he's a guy.
Yeah, he is in fact a guy.
He's a competent quarterback.
Yes, he's a Kirk Cousins to me.
Yes,
He's
he's along that same line. He's not going to go out there and just straight win you a game.
Right.
But he's also not going to go out there and
Daniel
lose
Jones
you
it
a
up.
game. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's not. They're not out there making a ton of mistakes when he's on the field.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see this next week. Who do the Texans play?
Texans play
Broncos in Denver.
Okay, so they're at Broncos, and the Colts play.
Yeah, the
Colts are playing at Jaguars.
Jackson, yeah. Well,
Okay. So
they went into Jacksonville at the end of the year last year and lost.
Right. There was some weird positive energy coming out of Jacksonville at the end of the season last year that has not yet carried over necessarily.
Right.
They made it a game today.
They did.
But Commanders took.
We didn't watch enough of that game because it wasn't on the main
It was
screens.
on the peripheral. Yeah. We were all the other games were up in front of us, and then on the sides we had.
I mean, it makes sense that was the game.
Right.
But in all fairness, that was one of the higher scoring games.
It was.
Along with the Eagles and the Lions.
Philly and Lions. That was a great game. Bad defense. Great game.
Yeah.
Really fun game to watch. So we'll see this next week. Titans or the Texans. God damn, I keep doing that with them. Texans and the Colts. We'll see how they step into this next week.
Yeah.
I'm not panicked on either of them.
The question is, are the Colts going to be this team that loses these games that they're supposed to win, and that's what keeps them out of the playoffs and that sort of thing, like it did last year?
Right, and that's exactly what
happened.
happened.
And they started 0-5 last year.
Yeah.
And then went on a run, and then lose to Jacksonville in a game that all they had to do was win the game, and they were in.
Against one of the worst teams in the league.
Yes.
And
in fact, it was the worst team in the league.
It was the worst team in the league?
It was the worst team in the league. Even after they lost, or even after they won, they were still the worst team in the league.
It was still the worst. Okay, wow. Okay, so Fantasy Gods and Asshats. So we have basically what we're trying to do here is we're trying to figure out who's been doing really well so far this week, and who's just a total asshat, and based on more or less based on ADP, right? So so the easy asshat from Thursday night football was Cam Akers.
Yeah.
He had 3 carries, 0 yards, and
did nothing on the field when he was on there.
Yes, and then
literally nothing, because even when he was in pass blocking, he did nothing.
He did nothing.
He didn't even block.
Didn't even try. And Sean McVay came out at the end of the game and basically said he's got to look like he's got to make the most of his opportunities when he's out there.
He has to see more from him when he's actually on the field.
And this is what I've been worried about is I came out of the off season last year, or out of the season last year, with a poor taste in my mouth for Cam Akers, because who came out of the gate doing really well, but then when he came back from injury,
didn't look great.
He had successful fantasy numbers, but terrible efficiency.
Yeah.
And so for him, I was worried about him coming into this year. Darrell Henderson took the job. He had more carries and more targets, and he was better all around, which is nice because I have Darrell Henderson in more leagues than I've got Cam Akers. And Darrell Henderson, but the reason I have Darrell Henderson is because he comes at a cheaper price, right? Cam Akers you got to pay up for, and I got nothing out of him.
The big thing with Cam Akers is we have not seen a player in the running back position blow an Achilles and then come back and be a top end productive, not even a top end, but being a productive running back after that happens.
Adrian Peterson
James
had
Robinson
an ACL,
just did it.
Who?
James Robinson did it today. He's the only one that I have seen that's done it.
Let's see it over a season.
Yeah.
Right.
He can have one game, but that doesn't necessarily mean that he's not going to have issues.
Give him credit. He had a good game today. Adrian Peterson came back from an ACL, I think, but it wasn't an Achilles.
Right. This was me.
Adrian Peterson, by the way, who got knocked the fuck out this weekend.
That's what I'm saying, though, is the Achilles injury itself.
Is very
There has
difficult.
been no running backs that have come back from that injury. So that was the thing with Cam Akers coming back in a miraculous amount of time. Coming back on the field last year, there was hope that he's still able to be it because he is so young, and modern medicine is so much better than it has been even in the last couple of years.
Right.
That he's actually going to be able to come back from that. But so far, he's not. And whether that's a discipline thing where he's just not putting in the actual work to be a good running back,
Right.
We'll see.
Oh my gosh, Ezekiel Elliott, I need you to do more, man. I need you to come back and do more because I do not want to have to root for fucking Cortland Sutton tomorrow night.
There is 100%.
So gross.
We need to add the Cowboys to the panic button. I'm watching this game.
Yeah.
And it's not. Their offensive line is just in shambles.
Yeah, and it's right now. There's 13 minutes, 30 seconds left in the fourth quarter,
At least
and
a
it's 3-19.
touchdown was scored. At least a touchdown was finally scored in the game.
Oh, in the game.
Yeah.
Okay, I was
Yeah,
like,
Mike Evans got that.
Yeah, Mike Evans made a sick ass catch on that.
Mike Evans doing Mike Evans, thanks.
Mike Evans doing Mike Evans.
One touchdown for 71 yards. At this point, he's on pace for his 1,000-yard season.
Yeah. A couple of fantasy gods that have come out this week. Saquon Barkley, as we mentioned before, did awesome. Antonio Gibson came back and did awesome. Justin Jefferson, what the fuck, man? That guy is so good.
He's good at football.
He has said that he believes he is the best receiver in the game, and he very well might be right.
Right now, he's the number one fantasy
You're not
scorer.
going to argue against him.
Yeah.
Now, in all fairness, Devontae Adams, who arguably is one of the best ones in there, he had himself a game as well.
He had himself a very good game. On 17 targets.
Yes.
What the shit?
Yes.
So in one of my dynasties, my it's a three wide receiver set, and I have Cup, Devontae Adams, and Justin Jefferson.
Jesus, man. Are there like 5 people in that league?
No, I made some trades.
Yeah, apparently.
Like, my running back core isn't fantastic, but I don't really need it.
But it doesn't matter when you got those 3 guys.
AJ Brown had himself a really good game as well.
They showed off their new shiny toy. DeAndre Swift.
55 yards?
Huh?
155
Something
yards?
like that. Yeah.
Yeah, D Swift.
Swifty looks like every part of an RB1.
Even Miles Sanders had himself a pretty good week because he found the end zone for the first time since 2020. So
I'm not gonna hold my breath on that one.
I'm just patting him on the back because he deserves some love for that. That's all I'm saying.
The one guy that had the preseason hype and looked the part, we were all saying how CEH was good. Isaiah Pacheco actually was the lead back.
Yep.
He actually was pretty damn good.
The thing is, that makes sense. They actually used CEH
the way that they're
in receiver
as a passing back, which is what we've been asking
for
the whole fucking time.
Right. Since he came into the league and we all went, oh my God, a passing back in Kansas City, this is going to be amazing. And then, no.
And then they used him
I
as...
don't know what voice that was. I got kind of a little bit like circus, carnival barker or whatever.
Well, that's kind of how it's been with CEH. It's kind of been a carnival.
It's been a little bit of a carnival. Yeah, it's a good call.
Ever since that first game where they ran him up the middle 8 times in a fucking row to get no yards. Ever since then, that's how they had used him. They hadn't used him. I mean, I think he might have tied the record for the amount of receptions in this game.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
he had 3 for 30-some yards and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, he looked good in what he was doing, but Pacheco, to your point, came in, did really well, so it's going to be fun to see how that kind of fleshes out. Cooper Kupp, of course, did amazing. Anybody else on the fantasy god side that you guys can think of right now?
I mean, Patrick Mahomes was Patrick Mahomes.
Mahomes, right? We can't.
5 touchdowns.
He was
game 1.
Just perfect.
Herbert was good.
Yep.
I mean, other than that, I mean, there's guys that did not disappoint you. They didn't, blow you out of the water, but
Yeah.
They weren't like, oh my God, they're going to win the week.
We briefly talked about it. Cordell Patterson.
Yep.
Doing what he was doing last year when he was on fire.
Yep. Just shitting all over my preseason talk.
Yes.
Just like he heard this podcast and said, "Fuck that guy."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Michael
Michael Thomas.
he passed by.
Michael Thomas had one.
got a
Michael
couple-
Pittman
two
actually had a pretty good day as well.
Yep.
And
Looking at the Ravens, because remember the Ravens played the Jets. You think it should have been just an absolute bloodbath? It wasn't.
Yeah.
It was way closer than the score shows, and their offense was not clicking all that great.
Their run game is gone, though. That's the problem. Is there is no run game there because even with Lamar Jackson being their primary running back, if you don't have another running back that you're scared of, then you just have another blocker.
right.
And
guess who they play
probably not a
next
good
week?
one. Huh?
And guess who they play next week?
They play Miami. That'll be an interesting game.
Yeah.
That'll be a very interesting game.
Are they in Miami?
It's in Baltimore.
Oh, they're in.
Okay.
I'm interested to see what that spread gets to whenever we do that, whether it's Monday or Tuesday this week.
Yeah.
They had a preliminary up right now, and I think they're Ravens by 4.5.
Wow.
It seems high.
It does seem high.
Yeah.
I would take the Dolphins.
That's why. That's why I want to give it a couple of days.
Yeah, this is why we're not doing our picks today because I'm not sure that fully quantifies how good the Dolphins defense looked and how I don't want to say mediocre because they were above average, but they were barely above average.
They were in sync. Yeah, it just wasn't like it wasn't what you
Lamar
expected.
Jackson made a couple of really good passes though.
His no-look touchdown was pretty.
Money, dude. That was so
That was
good.
pretty.
That was so good. So a couple of asshats. I already mentioned Aaron Rodgers, and this is not necessarily his fault. This is sort of the Packers are the king of the asshats. But Aaron Rodgers put up 3.7 points, and Jordan Love put up 2.6 points. So you're not loving the fact that the backup quarterback did just about as good in a fifth of the time.
Yeah.
And that's because everybody was playing against backups at the time. But the point is that Aaron Rodgers, to what your point is earlier, Aaron Rodgers can only do so much. And he can't make them catch the ball.
Right.
He can put it exactly where it's supposed to go, but he can't make them catch it.
Right.
Joe Burrow, I mean, for as much hype as they had.
Yeah.
He still ended up in a half-point PPR league. He still ended up with 20 points.
Yeah, he's a
so
top
it's
10
not
back for
it's not as
quarterback
if
right
he
now.
had an atrocious game fantasy-wise.
He didn't
but
ever
if you-
hurt the bed.
But if you took away the 4 interceptions and the fumble, he would have had a 30-point game.
Yes, exactly. And
Right.
and part of
But
the
you
reason
can't.
part of the reason he had that was because it went to overtime. And if it speaking of, we kind of skipped over this. Bengals and Steelers,
Kickers in general this
kickers
week
in general,
are kind of all asshats.
wreaking havoc across the league, man. Asshats in general. Just kickers, asshats, which is why, by the way, again, I like having kickers in fantasy because they're fucking unpredictable as shit. Like McPherson for the Bengals.
Who's pretty fucking good.
Real good. Hit like 12 50-yard field goals last year. 12 of 15 or something like that. 13 of 15.
Something like that, yeah.
And hit the post once, got one blocked. And then Bosworth to come in and for the Steelers to come in and win the game. Doinked it. Hit this weird like knuckleball, like wind turbine thing right at the end.
Just weird hook, just hook left.
Browns win on the field goal, on a last-minute field goal, and the Colts can't win because Rodrigo Blankenship missed on a gimme field goal.
And why would the Texans punt when it's literally going to be a tie? Just fucking throw it to the end zone.
Yeah, just put it up there. That was a weird play call.
I honestly don't think either team wanted to win today.
I don't think either team, but they both kind of came to the end and they were like, well, let's just fucking tie it. We'll call it a tie and we'll see you again and we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
So whatever. Kickers, asshats, kickers, good call.
Yeah.
Adding them to the list.
It was a rough day. There was injuries for multiple kicking teams. Butker was out for a little while.
Yeah.
Justin Reed came in and kicked the field goal and kicked another field goal out in the kickoff.
Yep.
Which I still think should be worth a point or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It should be, right?
Yeah.
For your defense.
Yeah. There
Because
should
he's a
be some
defensive player, and he came out and he kicked a field goal.
Yeah. If you get it through the uprights, I feel like you should your team should get a point.
Well, so he did because he got it for their special teams. So you got the point for the upright for the extra point, but you should get an additional point.
Yeah.
For being a defensive player playing out of position and kicking a field goal. I'm with you there. Joe Burrow, by the way, this is why we draft QBs late. Joe Burrow was QB 7 off the board ADP, and this week Carson Wentz,
who is probably on your waiver wire,
who is guaranteed to be on your waiver wire. Because his ADP was 24th. That's one spot ahead of Deshaun Watson, who's not playing until week 11, or 12 or 13 or whatever it is. Carson Wentz outscored Joe Burrow by, not by a lot, but by like 3 or 4 points. And that's the whole point of draft, not spending a high capital on a quarterback, is you can stream a quarterback and have a better playing.
In Dynasty, he would have scored me 9 more points because I have both Carson Wentz and Joe Burrow.
And you played Joe Burrow.
I absolutely
that would have been
Joe
the
Burrow.
right call.
Yes.
Almost every time.
Yes.
But not today.
Not today.
Not today. So also Derrick Henry, we talked about earlier. He was 21 carries for 82 yards. That's nothing to write home about. You want Derrick Henry snacking souls and scoring TDs, and we didn't.
Normally when Derrick Henry has 21 carries, he's got at least 1 touchdown, and he's broken 100 yards because he didn't get a chance to snatch any souls and refuel himself.
Right, exactly. He didn't get to fill up his mana like he's supposed to. God of War style.
Correct.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah.
CMC wasn't.
Yeah. Okay, so this one was weird. Watching that game, it was hard for me to tell whether or not they were misusing him, whether they had him on a snap count, or because he didn't come out full time until the end, the fourth quarter and into the fifth quarter.
When they were trying to come back in the
game. When they needed to win the game, they brought him out there and they put him out there full time. And
which, I mean, he was on the injury report going into the week.
Absolutely.
So,
and you got to protect this guy.
Yeah. So maybe they were just playing it cautious with him, trying to win this game without him. Mm-hmm. And then they brought him in. Maybe the whole plan was for him to basically just play in the second half.
Yeah.
Outside of a few carries.
Yeah.
In the first half, I don't know.
Yep. And he was taking a lot of carries and not getting a lot of receptions.
Yeah.
And I don't know what his final numbers were as far as receptions go, but they weren't. It didn't look like the game plan was to split him out and hit him over the top. And maybe that's just chemistry between Baker Mayfield and CMC. Maybe it's Baker Mayfield's play style doesn't quite marry up with that. Maybe, but in the last quarter of the game, Baker Mayfield came alive, brought the team back, got him ahead within the last minute and a half, and the Browns came back. Hunt, by the way, and Chubb both played really well.
Yep.
Talk about a 1A and a 1B.
Yeah.
They both played really well, especially in the fourth quarter, and they marched down and got themselves a field goal. A kicker winning the game for his team. That was pretty spectacular to see. Yeah, it was really nice to watch some football today. I had a good time watching all that football on all them screens.
Yeah.
It was hard for me to be that close to a blackjack table and not play. I really struggled with that.
But you had the carrot of football dangling in front of you the whole time.
Specifically the fantasy, checking your phone, trying to stay on top of it, trying to stay ahead of the injury report for later.
Trying to decide what screen to watch.
Trying to decide
which was really hard.
And always watching the wrong one.
Yeah.
Right, absolutely. So, I was so stoked to be watching football again. Felt really good. I'm excited to watch the Seahawks tomorrow night, even though they're going to get their shit kicked in. I didn't pick the Seahawks to win, did I?
Not to win. You want them. I mean, you did pick them
Cover.
to win.
I picked them to cover. What was the spread? It was like 7.5, 6.5.
I think they have to be within 6 points. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm counting on the Pete Carroll effect of always keeping a game within reach.
Yes.
So we'll see how that goes. I'm excited to see that. We will be back tomorrow night, or we'll be back on Tuesday night, which is probably more likely the case.
Yeah.
But we're going to try and do a little bit earlier show so that way you can hit it, get your waivers in for Wednesday morning. So just be on the lookout for that. Anything else, boys?
I don't think so.
Dak Prescott's not having a good game.
No, Cowboys.
Like
They're not having
general.
a good game.
He's 11 of 25 for 102 yards and 1 interception.
Ugh.
Fournette's having a pretty good night.
Yeah, Fournette is 21 carries for 127 yards.
Is he really?
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
See, that's what we would expect. 21 carries, Derrick Henry to have somewhere around 120 some yards.
Yes.
Yep.
Tom Brady, by the way, is in a fight with his wife. So I don't know. Is that coming out in the form of I'm having a really awesome game because I'm sexually frustrated?
I mean,
No.
he's
No,
not.
no,
She
make out with his
tweeted
son.
him. She tagged him in a tweet. So
I did see that. That was she never tweets about him in football, and yet there was a very concerted point to tag him today. I saw that too.
Yeah, he's not having a great game, but he's not having a terrible game. He's 18 of 26 for 211 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. So
okay,
it's not great, but it's not awful.
right.
And Julio Jones looks like he's an old man. I mean, he's had
he had a good deep pass.
Yeah, but that looks like that took about everything out of him.
It might have.
Then he
it
looked
might
like he
have
hurt
cost him
after it.
everything.
He's hobbling on the field every time he touches the field now.
Yeah, that's what happens when you're Julio
Well,
Jones.
his hamstrings are made of literally like
Tissue paper.
like ancient paper. Yeah.
Whatever the wings are made of on a praying mantis, that's what his hamstrings are made of.
Yes. Yes.
But he runs like he's a rhinoceros, so he
True.
puts the effort out there. Like I've heard that your leg muscles are actually so strong that you can snap your own bones with them, but your body has obviously a lot of mechanisms that keep that from happening.
His
but
are
not him.
No.
He does not have that.
No.
Yeah. So, okay. We will see you guys in the next 48 hours. Good luck in your fantasy leagues. Oh, by the way, I guess one more thing. How are you doing in your leagues? You got three main leagues, right?
Yeah.
How are you doing in those?
Yep.
I'm gonna lose all 3.
That's your style, man.
All right. That's how I do week 1.
Yeah. All right, Frodo.
I'm winning 2 of the 3.
I'm winning.
And
2
the
of the
most
3.
important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same here.
I'm winning in 1 shitty, and I still have Javonte Williams going, and I'm already he's already done scoring, and then I'm playing Rich in Dynasty, and that one's over.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
I'm glad to give the gift of week 1 wins.
Usually I get that gift, and I'm a little upset that we don't play this week.
Yeah,
It's not quite over. I have Albert O going, and you have the Denver defense, so there is still a shot there.
there is a shot. It's not a very bright one, but there is a shot.
Oh
Yeah.
my god, I do not love. Okay, so in our dynasty league, going up against Ashley, and she is just making a fucking fight out of it, and I've got to go against Javonte Williams tomorrow night with.
So you're hoping
yeah.
the hot hand becomes Melvin Gordon.
Absolutely, I am.
Yeah.
Absolutely, I am. All right, guys, we will see you guys here in a couple of days. Peace out.
Peace.